Part 36. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 352. 351 Betting. Will Zhongli still be gambling? Yekong walked to Huang Zixuan and asked. It may be that Zhang Wei and Huang Zixuan said something. The cucumber crush did not despise him as yesterday, but he dropped a white eye before speaking. The rules are not allowed, but everyone is happy when Nabi just do NT talk about it. It's too big. Yekong nodded and said, then I will make a few bets. Huang Zixuan has also made a bet, one bet for a spiritual stone, and she put 10 to Zhang Wei. Although she is not optimistic about Zhang Wei and does not believe that Zhang Wei can win if she does not change, she still voted for the good sisters and cheered up the good sisters. Buy it, buy it, buy it quickly, or you won't accept bets when the game starts. Ye Fenyang didn't drink much, but the disciples around the ring heard it clearly. Buy 30 notes of Qiujianguang. A fat disciple sent the past 30 spirit stones, took the jade handicrafts handed by Ye Feng, and smiled wryly. Hey, this game shows Qiujianguang Shen, isn't this a free spirit? Don't take it for nothing, silly. But then he was patted on the shoulder, and the fat man quickly turned back and found a dark face smiling at himself. It's brother Li. At first it seemed that the man was Li Hizi, and the fat man was so frightened that he hurried away. The Yuchan, who in Yunfuzong did not know that Li was quite a martial artist. Why don't you buy Zhang Wei? Yekong smiled, and then said, teach you a way to make a steady profit. If you do, then invest in Zhang Wei's 20 spiritual stones, so it's safe. If Qiujianguang wins, you remove the cost, and you earn 10 spirit stones. If Zhang Wei wins, then you make a big hair. Isn't it good to bet? I only have 30 spirit stones. The fat man grinned, thinking to myself, I knew what Zhang Wei was going to lose and vote for her. If I have 20 more spiritual stones, I still have to vote for Qiujianguang. Will I make more money? Yekong certainly knew his thoughts, and didn't say much, patted his shoulder. You have lost an opportunity to make money. The game is about to start. People betting on it have seen more, but they all cast Qiujianguang. In the words of the fat man, it is silly to not give the spirit stone to buy. I bought 10,000 Zhejiang Wei, a black man said with a bravery, shaking the disciples around him. God! 10,000 bets on Zhang Wei win, knowing that your first man in the outskirts is Zhang Wei, but this is not the case. Knowing that the nun would lose, you still voted so much. Do you not use it as a spiritual stone? 10,000 spirit stones are an astronomical number for ordinary disciples, and one hastened to retreat to let this large amount of money come in. Do you have so many spirit stones? Ye Feng looked at Li Hizi with contempt. According to the information they got, the black boy should be poor and white, and there are no extra tools. 10,000 spirit stones. How is that possible? Yekong snorted coldly, patted the storage bag, took out a small black bag, and threw it to Ye Feng. 100 pieces of middle-class spirit stones, you count. Wow, the monks around were all staring. Everyone knew that Li Hizi was awesome, but who knows that this kid is still a big one. 100 pieces of fine stone. For these disciples, one piece of fine spirit stones are treasures, not to mention 100. Also used to vote for people who know they won't win. 10,000 lingxi pickles, the price is too great. Even Huang Zixuan's eyes widened. She didn't expect that if Zizi had money, it would be 10,000 yuan in one shot. You could take it out earlier and let Sister Wu Yi buy some powerful magical instruments. Now, I vote for Ye Feng. Are you afraid of losing? Hey, isn't that too many bets? Huang Zixuan yanked Yekong's sleeve. Not much. Yekong raised his arm again and shouted, vote 10,000 bets on Zhang Wei. Zhang Wei will win. Yekong's call not only heard the disciples around him, but even the two who stood on the stage and had not yet started the battle cast their eyes over. And Yekong's side gathered countless disciples. While there were so many people, no one noticed that someone tapped the beast bag. Soon, a pair of slender tentacles were found in the beast of the spirit beast, and the tentacles touched deftly. Then a small head came out. In the crowd of dozens of monks, the little head crawled out, fluttered his wings, and flew out unnoticed. Yekong successfully attracted everyone's attention and released the golden-winged ants. But betting is not complete. According to the rules, the dealer must have sufficient capital to make a reserve. That is, Yefeng should have at least 80,000 spirit stones in his pocket ready to lose money, or else people won't get the money, they have to work hard with you. However, seeing the money given away by Yefeng and others were not reconciled. He and the surrounding disciples a little bit together, and everyone put together more than 10,000 spirit stones, and only accepted Yekong's 2,000 spirit stones as a bet. Tell you a word, without such a big fart eyes, don't take so much laxatives. There is no money to open a gamble. Yekong cold hummed, put away the 8,000 spirits, turn around and walk away. As soon as Yekong left, Yefeng and others laughed and laughed. They earned 2,000 spirit stones, this silly hat, if I have the capital, I will eat all your 10,000 spirit stones. That Li Hezi is infatuated, Qiu Jianguang snorted coldly. He was guessing where there were so many spirit stones for this poor ghost, which had been unknown before, but now he took out 10,000 spirit stones. I must have sold my howling wolf king. This shameless blackbird. I'm with you. What's your matter, Zhang Wei snorted. Yekong's act was tantamount to giving her a peace of mind. If he didn't make sure that he would win, would he be so high profile? However, thinking of someone who had collected spirit stones for himself, Zhang Wei was anxious to beat the kid with his bag. Ha ha, Qiu Jianguang laughed. This guy is not a good person. I don't know where I got some ill-gotten wealth, so I don't know what my last name is. That's because he knows that I will win this game. Excuse me, don't you take the spirit stone you gave away, stupid, Zhang Wei said in opposition. It's a win? I want to see how you win, Qiu Jianguang sighed angrily, patted the storage bag. Jing Guangzhi flew out, and once he came out, he came to the top of Qiu Qianguang's head, and a golden bead dripped. Rotating, emitting countless golden lights, surrounded Qiu Jianguang like a golden man. Zhang Wei played against Qiu Jianguang in the 5th round of the number 1 knockout round. The referee who defended the stage said without forgetting, please pay attention to the two disciples, friendship is the most important thing. Please hit the point of the shot, and call out on one side. After admitting defeat, the other party will not be able to take any action, and it is strictly forbidden to indiscriminately kill or maliciously attack the surrender, otherwise this ancestor has the right to stop it. After the referee's words, the match between Zhang Wei and Qiu Jianguang began. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 353. 352 Inside 5. At the beginning of the game, the two sides showed their magic weapon. Zhang Wei was a green sword with a high-quality sword, and Qiu Jianguang still used the high-quality sword that was used yesterday. Go, Zhang Wei scolded. Lu Yujian's streamer generally shot at Qiu Jianguang. Qiu Qianguang's mouth with a disdainful smile, waited for the green jade sword to fly, and then he drew a tactic, point. The top-grade flying sword was divided into 3 at a glance, and the dang sounded. The three-handed sword hit the green jade sword from different directions at the same time. Shangpan Fijian was stronger than Liu Yu's sword, not to mention that it was an offensive attack divided into 3. Liu Yu's sword made a crisp sound and bounced back, and the master of Wu Yujian, Zhang Wei, also shivered. Zhang Wei suffered a small loss in the first round, which made the onlookers even less optimistic. Just now, led by Yekong, several disciples in the outer hall bought Zhang Wei. Looking at this scene, all of them were annoyed. Stupid, Brother Li has a lot of spirits. He used the spirits to attack the martial arts in the river, and it doesn't hurt to lose. What do you say is fun? An outsider disciple told another disciple. I don't know. I just watched Brother Li buy it, and I followed it. The young disciple who bought Zhonghui Shen even had a crying heart, and the 50 spirit stones he had saved for half a year yet. If you buy it, you buy it too. It's stupid. Brother Li lost Lingxi and held to the beauty. What do you lose if you lose? It's all you like. The monk didn't forget the joy. After he finished speaking, he said, how good you look at me. 120 spirit stones will immediately become 240, haha, this spirit stone came too fast, and I only hate the spirit stone if I hate me, otherwise I will buy more. Hearing the people behind him, Yekong pretended not to hear, but Huang Zixuan was unwilling, and turned his back on his back. You are stupid. Buy Qiu Jianguang, lose you. The disciple who bought Qiu Jianguang wanted to refute a sentence, but when he saw a black man turned his head, he kept silent, but his heart was very intense. Cut. I don't know who lost. Stupid man, stupid woman, let's go and see. Scolded that disciple, but Huang Zixuan was not assured, and whispered, hey brother, can Wu Yi really win? Of course. Well, why don't we arrange chairs and benches around this platform, and how uncomfortable it is to stand and watch the battle, Yamao said about it. Cucumber crushed, hey brother, but I can't see why Wu Yi defeated Qiu Jianguang. Seeing someone pretending not to hear, Huang Zixuan had to use a trick, hold a black man's arm and shake, hey brother. Listening to the elongated coquettish sound, feeling the tenderness on the outside of the arm, Yekong reluctantly said, oh, you are really afraid of you, okay, then I will reveal that it is not martial arts victory, but Qiu Jianguang defeat. Huang Zixuan could hear the beautiful eyes staring at the boss, blinking with long eyelashes, and he didn't understand. Martial arts beat him, how could he lose? Is Qiu Jianguang willing to admit defeat? Impossible. He and Qiu Jianguang were fighting fiercely, but someone was jealous, and looked into the collar of his girlfriend. Zhang Wei looked annoyed, slammed aura, and urged Lu Yujian to go crazy. The woman's vinegar fire can really burn everything, and the green jade sword is 1 enemy and 3, but it does not fall into the wind. I saw the sound of ping pong sounding over the ring platform. A streamer with white body and green tail was in 3 golden streamers. Huh. Smelly woman. You will consume a lot of spiritual power this way, and you will only lose more quickly. I'll see how much spiritual power you can consume. Qiu Jianguang made up his mind and did not attack, but with a small amount spiritual power to cope with the green jade sword, waiting for Zhang Wei's lack of spiritual power, is the time for him to win. When I saw the green jade sword standing against the first-class Fijian, which turned into 3, some of the people watching from the audience were immediately happy, but most of them were understandable. Knowing that Zhang Wei is also purely hard-working, but Qiu Jianguang is freehand and effortless. In the end, Zhang Wei's refining gas has been completed, and his spiritual power is still adequate. This fight lasted half an hour. At this time, Zhang Wulin, Cao Junfen, Lan Lanming, and others also hurriedly ended and rushed over. Seeing the situation on the field, their brows were frowned. After 2 days of competition, they were no longer rookies, and they all saw that Zhang Wei was now strong and hard-working. Everyone apparently had opinions on a black man, and came to talk to Huang Zixuan, and ignored the black man. But who knows that the black man died unconsciously, and commanded, Brother Lan, Ye Xian, go and bring me a big chair. Brother Ye, the air is good today. Brother Blue, you see that cloud is really white. The 2 couples seemed to be deaf, so they only talked about themselves, but they couldn't hear a black man's call. Cao Junfen saw that the beauties on the platform were in danger, but the kid was heartless and let people move chairs and lie down, as if the platform were people who had nothing to do with him. Cao Junfen's shameless behavior by a black man finally caught my eye. Li Hizig, you are too much. I respected you as a gentleman and a real man before. But I didn't expect you to be so ruthless and unintentional. Yesterday you declined the good intentions. But today I can't stand it. The martial arts sister and sister are about to lose, but you are not worried at all, just care about yourself. What kind of man are you? Nonsense. Who says that Wei is about to lose? I think she's going to win. It's a crow's mouth, not good words, a black man said lazily. Just to win, Cao Junfan pointed at Zhang Wei, who was stretched on the stage, and he couldn't say so angry, you are so unconscious. Calm, still calm, be calm, and young people learn to be calm. Huh, Cao Junfan snorted, shook his sleeves, and ignored the guy. Zhang Wei on the stage has indeed reached the point of exhaustion of spiritual power. After a large amount of spiritual power output just now, she is unable to cope with Qiu Qianguang's top-grade flying sword, but Qiu Qianguang is very relaxed. Sister Wei, you are very strong, haha, brother, I admire tightly. If you can support the two-pillar incense, Qiu Qianguang will admit defeat, getting weaker. Zhang Wei kept his mouth shut, only focusing on urging Liu Yujian to launch a wave of attacks that were weaker than waves. It's over. It's time for Qiu Qianguang to perform. Qiu Qianguang glanced at Li Heze proudly, and his hands were flirted, and the three golden lights immediately became a lot thicker, and the sound made on the green jade sword also changed from ping ping pong to bang. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 354. 353 then 6. Qiu Qianguang's offensive was strong, and Zhang Wei, who was already at the end of the crossbow, couldn't take it anymore, and he saw the green jade sword losing ground and becoming more and more unsustainable. Sister Wu Yi, but that's it? Huh, kicked off the stage first, then hit the black cricket. Qiu Qianguang once again stepped up his attack. The banging sound made the spectators' ears buzz. You dream, Zhang Wei scolded angrily, bracing the green jade sword for the final resistance. While taking out a firebird curse from the storage bag, he let it go to Qiu Qianguang. Firebird curse? Do you think this thing is useful? Qiu Qianguang laughed wildly, not evading the firebird coming at his face, not moving at all, only urging Fijian to launch the strongest offensive round. Boom, a front flamingo has hit the golden light on the outermost layer of Qiu Qianguang's body. The firebird's aura of fire attributes suddenly hit the bones and splattered with splendid sparks. Boom boom boom, the following firebird did not give Qiu Qianguang any respite, one after another, and slammed against the golden mask outside Qiu Qianguang's body. The position where Qiu Qianguang was standing suddenly turned into a sea of fire. The firebirds all turned into splashing sparks, golden light, red light, interspersed with each other, which can be described as spectacular. But when all the flamingos were broken, the audience saw that Hong Guang didn't know where to go. Jing Guang still laughed. Sister Wei, don't bother, this Jing Guangju's power is not what you can imagine, Qiu Qianguang shouted, now let you see the power of the top quality Fijian combined hit. At this moment, green jade sword has not forced to retreat to Zhang Wei, but it is already dying. Hey, Qiu Qianguang pointed at the flying sword, and saw three separate golden flying swords gather together, turning into a wide and flat sword, and then under the control of Qiu Qianguang, the golden flying sword became larger and larger. Let you see my best move, let's hit it together. Qiu Qianguang finished speaking, his lips flipped quickly, and his fingers kept pounding. Watching the top-grade flying sword grow up against the wind, radiating with brilliance, the momentum is getting more and more amazing. Cao Junfan couldn't help but shouted, martial arts, give up. You can't stand it? Seeing that the golden flying sword had grown to Jiangsu, Jing Guangkankan was terrible and hung above his head. If he waited for it to slash, he would be seriously injured if he did not die. Zhang Wei actually has a little fear in his heart. But then, when she saw a black man under the stage, the black man still smiled slightly, just winked at her. Zhang Wei knew that the time was up. According to the advice of a black man yesterday, as long as he winked, he pretended to play a series of tricks. Don't worry, he will solve it. Zhang Wei ignored the giant golden flying sword hanging in front of him, and according to Yes Yang's instructions in the evening, his fingers ended up with 2 tricks, and then shouted, "Every mountain, a bull." The onlookers were all stunned. I haven't heard of this trick. Even Huang Zixuan froze and asked, what kind of spell is this? I think her trick seems to be random. It doesn't look like it's messy. Ye Kong laughed. Just look at it. Can you do it? Huang Zixuan asked everyone's voice. What is surprising is that Zhang Wei roared out, and Qiu Jianguang, who was meditating on the opposite side, was obviously stifled. Poor Qiu, somebody read the method halfway, and suddenly felt a pain in the crotch, as if some bug bit his own small head. Adhere to. Read the tip. Qiu Jianguang encouraged himself. However, it seemed to be getting more and more painful, as if something had penetrated into his body, and the pain was almost rooted in a bamboo sign into his urine hole. But now we can't stop the formula, let alone take off pants to check. Qiu Jianguang only shook his fart back and forth, and felt that it was not okay, and twisted a few times. The audience's eyes fell down, and the most depressing was Ye Feng. He said, "Brother Qiu, now is not the time to dance. Please hurry up and send out the final kill." Qiu Jianguang also didn't want to dance, but he was riding a tiger now, and he had already read the recipe halfway. If he stopped, he would suffer a lot of spiritual backlash. Endure. Qiu Jianguang lay down a heart. So the ugliest scene in Yunfu Zongbei's history appeared. A male monk was shouting fart back and forth while he was talking about the formula, while pressing one hand on his crotch. Not only did the audience fail to understand, even the referee on the corner of the stage was confused by his behavior. However, the referee quickly remembered that not only his disciples, but also the ancestors of the friendly sect were watching, and he could not let him lose Quanyun Fuzong. Qiu Jianguang. I warn you now. Stop this childish and rude behavior. Give sufficient respect to the female disciples in the same door, otherwise I have the right to sentence you to failure. Qiu Jianguang is about to vomit blood. It's too depressing, it's awful, I'm in pain. However, he was reading the tactics, and it was difficult to explain, so he had no longer tossed. Everyone saw Qiu Jianguang stopped indecent movements, but his face rose and became redder, his teeth bited and tightened, his eyes widened. Hey brother, what's wrong with Qiu Jianguang? Huang Zixuan asked. I can't find the thatched cottage when I want to defecate, a black man explained. In fact, a gold-winged ant penetrated into the monk's body, and it was not life-threatening. Qiu Jianguang decided to bear it out. As long as the test was over and he took another elixir, there was nothing major. But what scared Qiu Jianguang was that the speed at which the little bug had penetrated into his body was so fast that he got in from the chicken's head and directly into his lower abdomen. Suddenly Qiu Jianguang realized that the worm's destination was his own anger. This woman wants to ruin her cultivation and make herself unable to cultivate. Thinking of this, Qiu Jianguang couldn't bear it anymore. He could bear the pain, but couldn't look at himself as a mortal. You, so poisonous, Qiu Jianguang shouted at Zhang Wei. Subsequently, a large number of aura backbone effects appeared. Qiu Jianguang spit out a spit of blood, and then, the golden light beads on his head lost the supply of spiritual power and suddenly fainted. And his top-grade Fijian also withered like yang, immediately contracted and became smaller. When Fijian changed back to Qiu Jianguang, he could not wait to jump on Fijian and escape. Many disciples also saw that he was busy taking off his pants as soon as he got to the sky. Ye Kong originally wanted to ruin this kid's ki, but then the impact would be great. Not only would Zhang Wei be punished, but his own possession of gold-winged ants would also be leaked. So as soon as Qiu Jianguang escaped, Ye Kong ordered the golden-winged ants to return to the original road and escape from Qiu Jianguang. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 355. 3, 5, 4 leaves empty look. Qiu Jian came to escape and naturally lost, and there was no need to return. Although the golden-winged ant opened a new pee-hole for him, it was not a big injury, but the powerful spiritual power of the last move back bit him, but he was seriously injured, and he could not be cured within 6 months. When Qiu Jian bawled and fled without turning back, Zhang Wei's heart burst into excitement. I won, I finally won, I can't believe it, I won. Get off, Zhang Wei shouted at Qiu Jianguang. Meanwhile, he compared with a hooligan. When the winner Zhang Wei stepped off the stage, he was immediately surrounded by flowers and applause. Sister Wu Yi, you're so amazing. What's going on in your way to fight cattle? Sister Wu Yi, I didn't expect you to win at the last minute, congratulations. Regarding these, Zhang Wei just nodded and smiled, and kept saying, please let me know. She knew that all her victories came from the black-faced guy, and she even doubted him and did not trust him, so Zhang Wei was most excited to hug a black man and thank him. But when she saw Li Hizi, her thoughts were destroyed again. Ye Feng, let me tell you, you don't take out the 16,000 spirit stones, I will chop you up, shred, grind, and feed the turtle. Ye Feng and others have suicidal heart at this moment. Who knows that Qiu Jianguang is so insidious? Ye Feng begged, Brother Hizi, Patriarch of Hizi, you'll be graced for a few more days, and when we go back, we'll get 12,000 and we're short of 4,000. No. I have never been dependent on my money for Li Hizi, and no one dares to rely on my money. Seeing this situation, Zhang Wei snickered and walked over, screaming angrily, hurry up to Lingxi. One less, hum. Look at me, hit the bull across the mountain. Grandma auntie, let's give it. A few of the guys in the inner hall softened their legs and did not kneel. God, it's terrible to fight cattle across the mountains. Qiu Jianguang can't resist the 6 layers of golden light. Let us endure it. Those who bought Qiu Jianguang Shen were all frowning. The fat man Ye Kong had persuaded was even more annoyed. This is a savings of more than half a year. And the disciple who followed Ye Kong to buy a bet, while counting the spirit stones, at the same time counted the others back to him. Zhang Wei was lost, and the brethren immediately thought of what a black man said before, and they all guessed that he had moved his hands and feet, so every unscrupulous person came up to inquire. Brazilian brothers, Junfan blame you wrongly, apologize to you, it's up to you to punish you. But, that's a great way to fight cattle, hey, how about I call you a master? Get off. Otherwise let you kill the golden retriever yourself. Brother Li, what is the skill of fighting cattle across the mountain? Can you also teach us? With this magical skill, even the thickest shield and strong defense weapon of the opponent are useless, how is it? Ye Xian and I both want to learn. Well, actually, this spell can only be used by women, men can't use it or learn it. Hey, what do you look at, do you not believe it? Then I ask you, have you ever met me? Used. At last, several passers-by fled away. Zhang Wei and Huang Zixuan asked again. In the face of torture that was held by 2 beautiful girls, one black man had to succumb to milk. Actually, that is what I fabricated. It's the fact that I watched the sky at night and found that the Baidu 7 stars changed briefly. Combined with Qiu Qianguang's appearance, I can see that he will have no delusions today, Ye Kong Lashin said on the ground. Where are the two girls willing to believe, and shouted, "There is a fortune teller in Surabaya city, but that guy never dared to tell a fortune teller. He himself said that rivers and lakes warlocks are all liars and can only deceive mortals." Hey, he's a liar doesn't mean someone else is a liar. Then you show me handprints. Huang Zixuan put his army on the road. Ye Dagong just happened to follow the soft and small hand of the cucumber crush, and then he sighed hard. Then he sighed, "It's true that the hands of immortals, especially female immortals, don't look good. The lines are not clear, and the lines are too complicated. You see, this line is called the lifeline." Listening to someone's explanation, the two girls listened with great interest. As a nun who grew up in Zhongli, how did she hear this? But after hearing someone say it for a long time, he hasn't heard his fortune telling himself. Huang Zixuan urged, "Please help me to see my future." I said, "The monk's hands are different from ordinary people, I really can't count it." A black man shook his head helplessly, but after panting, he said, "Unless." "Unless what?" "Unless you let me see the striae, that is the fart stripes on the strands, the palm prints are combined with the striae. It is really impossible to look at the milk lines again. I promise to see some eyebrows." "You go. Go to death." The two girls' red cheeks slammed against the hooligan's instep. "Alas, every time I take advantage, it is the outside of the arm, but the penalty is the back of the foot." In the next 3 days, Yekong didn't have any competitions. His 4 elections have all passed, and he will wait for the elections to end and proceed to the promotion. He was not idle, and he served as the cheerleader for several others. His cheerleader is also very competent. No matter who it is, those 4-character slogans open their mouths, such as Tianming Tianming, become famous in World War I, or Junfan Junfan, Niu Xbake. Huang Zixuan didn't play, so she followed behind, and kept laughing. I think he is really interesting, and he is happy with him every day. Of course, Yeda Hooligan will not miss any opportunity to take advantage. Cucumber crushes, it's a small butt. I don't know how many times I have touched this guy, and even once boldly moved his finger along the touching the gap in the hook went down, and the little girl's face became red, dripping blood. With Yekong's strong support, the record of several friends is also very ideal. Even Ye Xian, who had the lowest repair, passed the election. In fact, it is normal to think about it. Xianxia is the competition of competition, and the second is the spirit stone of the competition. Yekong won a lot of spirit stones from Yefeng and others. Naturally, it is also generous. Although Ye Xian is low, his disciples who are on the same stage as him are not so high. As soon as he played, Ye Xian was like a big money. The lower and lower middle level magic charms were thrown away, and each battle would consume hundreds of spiritual stones. For those poor disciples, there are so many spiritual stones. Smashing also killed them. Even the last disciple said, "Brother, I can't fight it, okay. I confess that you can give me 180 spirit stones." After the election, it's a 2-day break. Yekong counts the time. It is time for the Fubao who made it to himself. It's time to get the Fubao first. The game against the real person on the ground is more secure. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 356. 355 Hardest Ore. Refiner Zhongxi Water City, Backyard. Here are 2 mixed element mirror runes. 4 of the ancestors of the sect have refined them. According to the agreement, 2 of them are used for manual work. The 2 are requested by Li Daiyu, the shopkeeper. Yu Hao sent 2 runes. He later said, although this miracle mirror is not very good, but as a magic weapon, it has more power than ordinary magic instruments. However, because the materials used are really poor, these 2 runes are used. It's not too many times, so I'll tell you in advance. It is also normal to think about it. The monks in Lingushan are all impoverished. How can there be any good material for magic? Yekong asked again, how many times can I use it? Not 1 or 2 times. Oh, that's not it. If you use it normally, you can use it 8 or 9 times without any problem. Yu Hao's words reassured Yekong a lot. One can be used 8 or 9 times. That's enough. Anyway, the round mirror is useless in his storage bag. Now it's replaced by 2 Fuebao. Satisfied. Yu Hao refined the material of the 10,000-year-old tortoise last time, and he was very satisfied, but he also wanted to refining more advanced materials, so he asked with a smile, what was the space of the turtle shell made last time? Yekong laughed, I don't know, I haven't used it yet. Yu Hao shook his head and said, why not use this, it's a superb weapon. I didn't expect to be able to make a superb weapon when I was refining. It also has space, which is the leader in the superb weapon. This is the first time that Yu Hao has crafted a superb weapon, and he is naturally proud of it, and he named the weapon a turtle shell space. Speaking of this turtle shell space, it can be said that he has made the greatest pride so far. But Yekong wasn't satisfied, and shouted, don't talk about it, it was originally a dual-use attack and defense weapon, and you've made it into a defensive best-in-class weapon. Are you sorry? The attack function is lost. Yekong remembers very clearly that in the early summer, the monk surnamed Jidan took out the turtle shell as the Turtle Shell Mountain, and it was gone as soon as he smashed down a half of the city. How much attack capacity was that? Now being refined by Yu Hao, even the attacking function is lost. How can Ye not be annoyed? If it is not for the sake of the best defense weapon, he will smash the brand of the refining company. This statement is bad. Yu Hao shook his head and said, no matter any magic weapon or magic weapon, under the premise of fixed materials, the less its function, the more powerful it is, so there are very few offensive and defensive magic weapons. Most people have a single attack or defense was chosen. Some people made flying swords without flying. That's the reason, and this turtle shell is an excellent defense weapon. The monk made it from the beginning. Offensive and defensive use is a mistake. If he had refined a pure defensive magic weapon, maybe the turtle shell would not flow to you. After all, he is an expert in refiners, and Yu Hao talked about ideas as soon as he said it. Now that this turtle shell is a defensive weapon, there is a strong defensive space inside. If the monks really made an amazing defensive magic weapon in the early days, Yekong could not kill him. But then again, a monk can only make one or a set of magic weapons. If monk Xia cultivates a pure defense magic weapon, how can he confront the enemy? Is it Dan, and still use the magic weapon to fight? Yekong nodded, and no longer lingered with Yu Hao. Suddenly he thought of a new problem. Yekong originally thought that Yu Hao was just a shopkeeper in charge of the business, but later he knew that his turtle shell was made by him. It seems that this person is not only the shopkeeper, but also a master of refining. Since you are a master of refining, you must be very familiar with various materials. Yekong asked with a smile, Senior Yu, I want to ask, which type of ore is the hardest? Hard, Yu Hao frowned and thought. Generally speaking, the higher the ore, the harder it is. Only the harder ore can be used to make tough and difficult to damage. Of course, the original maker ore, it's better to use ordinary fine iron and copper. Yu Hao thought he wanted to learn the refiner. Yekong did not explain, and laughed, I asked which ore is the hardest, and the fine iron and copper are too soft. Yu Hao said that even if it is soft, you can't help it. He also advised, I think you still practice with fine iron and copper. Based on your practice, it is very good to turn the fine iron. When this guy talks about refiners, he doesn't even have basic savvy. Yekong smiled and said, Predecessor Yu, in fact, I am not doing it myself. I want to find money for you to do it. The greatest happiness for those who are obsessed with refiners is that they are made from the finest materials. Yu Hao listened and immediately said, "That's the kind of love. To say that the hardest ore is the 10,000-year-long meteorite. Ancient books have recorded that a million-year-old meteorite has been produced in the Kangnan mainland. I burned it with a spiritual fire for a month." Yu Hao said, feeling unnecessary, and laughed at himself, "I guess you can't get it, and I can't get it. Even if I have one, I can't afford it." Ye Kong laughed, thinking, "Brother, I'm selling to termites for food. What do you give me for billions of years?" Yu Hao went on to say, "Even the average 10,000-year meteorite is very expensive, scarce, and you can't buy it. So I advise you to look for fine iron or fine copper crystals. This crystal is accompanied by fine iron, copper. The ore is formed by the condensation of iron after thousands of years and is extremely hard. It is the best material for creating high-grade flying swords." "Oh? What is the price? Where is it?" "It's expensive. You can take hundreds of thousands of spirit stones with a big palm." "Forget it." Ye Kong was shocked and gave this ant to those ants. "I am the richest man in Kangnan and I can't afford it?" "Are there any relatively cheap and very hard ore?" Ye Kong asked again. This kid's question is really weird. Yu Hao doesn't know what he is going to do. "Think about it again. If it's cheap and hard, it's black gold, but that thing is not a mineral, it's a very hard stone. But that thing is also very special. When blended into the magic weapon, it can strengthen the toughness of the magic weapon and also rebound some spells. The price is not expensive, but it is not cheap." Then, Yu Hao also took out a large piece of black gold from the storage bag. When he saw the black gold stone, Ye Kong almost regarded it as the black stone that he saw in the 5 elements array. "But after I started, I found that it was different, too light. Black gold is much lighter, and Ye Kong's black stone has a heavier powder than black gold. The black gold stone is not expensive. Like this one, there are only 100 spirit stones, but it is too hard, and ordinary people can't dissolve at all. An egg is about 100 spirit stones." "Isn't it expensive?" Ye Kong said, depressed. Yu Hao was even more depressed. "Is this expensive? Moreover, this black gold stone is very durable. When making a magic instrument, only a little bit is necessary. This one can make 7 or 8 samples." Yu Hao didn't know. Actually, Ye Kong wasn't a magic weapon. He wanted to feed the golden-winged ants. The appetite of the gold-winged ants has been known by Ye Kong. It is not enough for them to jam their teeth with a large piece of egg. "What's cheaper than black gold?" Ye Kong continued to ask. Yu Hao sighed, "That's fine iron and copper. There are thousands of years, thousands of years, thousands of years. The price is different. You take care of it yourself." Looks like the topic came back. Ye Kong shook his head. "It seems that this matter can only be said later. Let the gold-winged ants eat ordinary copper and iron is a violent thing." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 357. 356 in public. On the 8th day of Napi, in the morning, the mist slowly flowed on the square in front of the inner blade hall at the highest point of Yunfuzong, as if it was a touch of air, which added a bit of mystery and aura to the Xianxian school. In the corner of the square in front of Neidiantang, a golden list hung from the sky, and the names of one Yunfuzong disciple were listed above. Many Yunfuzong disciples followed the example of Beijing to catch the test, gathered in watch your name on the list. In fact, it is the same whether you look or not. According to the rules of the election, you will be eliminated in one of the 4 battles. Don't you know how many games you played? But when I saw my name on the list, I was more at ease. There is another reason for many disciples to gather, that is, there are also divisions in this promotion list. Everyone must look at who their opponents are. In fact, for most disciples in the gas refining period, it doesn't matter whether they see it or not. There were 100 disciples during the gas selection period and 50 disciples during the foundation period, and they all had the right to enter the battlefield. For those disciples who have practiced gas, they are already satisfied when they can enter the big battle. Why do they still want to enter? Those 1, 2, and 3 rewards are drooling though. However, in the face of the real people who are higher than themselves, they have no hope of winning. For yet, this is not the same. He has no right to enter the top 100 when entering the top 100. Zhang Huiyi is the same, she must enter the top 20 disciples during the gas refining period. Ye Kong took a look. There were 5 people in each group. In his group, there are 2 disciples in the foundation period, one of them has not been long, and the other one is in the middle period, which is a bit difficult. After reading the list, Zhang Huiyi patted his towering and said, I'm assured that the 2 gas refiners in the same group with me are not as good as me. As for the base period, it doesn't matter if I lose to them. In the round of promotion, as long as I win 2 games, I will enter the top 20 of the gas refinement period. Ye Kong laughed, I didn't worry about you at all. Even Xu Guangguang, the first person in the refining period, was beaten up by you, and who are the opponents of other refining disciples. If you can't do it, you can fight again. Ye Kong was right. The rules of the game are 2 players in each group. During the gas refining period, the disciples defeat the other 2 gas refining disciples, or they can defeat one of the Zuji disciples to qualify. However, Zhang Huiyi said to someone that he was not worried at all. He stepped on someone in the crowd and scolded him, if it's your cucumber crush, you're worried. Looking at the little pepper, she was so jealous that Ye Kong was overjoyed. She used to think she didn't care about herself, but now it doesn't look like this. Why, you're jealous, I don't worry, I don't need to worry. If there is a danger of failure, how can I not worry about it? Ye Kong took Zhang Huiyi in front of him, and surrounded her from behind. With a soft waist, her chin rested on her fragrant shoulders and spoke. The posture of this pure couple is normal on earth, even in middle schools. However, the Kangnan continent is still very conservative. No disciples in the surrounding area dare to take care of it. The first person in the outer hall was enough for them. Now there is another Zhang Huiyi who can fight cattle across the mountains and get into this adultery well? Most people dare not control, but it does not mean that everyone dare not control. This brings up one, what is the system of being pulled down by the public? It is simply filthy and humiliating. You gas practitioners are getting more and more backward and worse. In one sentence, this person scolded all the practitioners of gas refining. Everyone looked back, and saw an old man who was not too young, glaring at somebody. Although the practitioners of gas refining heard the unhappiness in their hearts, they did not dare to provoke the real person of Zuji, especially in view of his strong spiritual power. However, Ye Kong is a temper that is not afraid of the sky. He hugged his girlfriend on the street and was rebuked in public. He was intolerable as a hooligan. Master Whitebeard, we didn't do anything? Don't you think you are attacking the same door with such a vicious language? Isn't it a bit excessive? Ye Kongli is still very annoyed. If the old man reprimanded you, it would be okay. Humanity is full of funerals. I am your fairy, and I have no girlfriend when I hug my girlfriend. If you were to marry a wife, wouldn't it be better to be a beast? Excessive. You are excessive. Is it for you to hug you in the public? The old man groaned. I hugged. Which door rule was violated? Grandpa, are you jealous because you see that I have a girlfriend? My aunt. How about my aunt, Mrs. Baba? Ye Kong was furious after hearing, grass your mother, old Pole. If you are really a serious 800 people, Lee admires it. But I didn't expect you old thief to marry a 8-room wife, but I can't see anyone else having a girlfriend, the most hated thing about Li in his life is that you are such hypocrites. You are so good looking that you are only allowed to your own chicken. The old man had been in retreat for many years, but this time, many people didn't know him. He wanted to teach a junior to stand up, but he didn't expect to kick him on the iron plate. The blackbird scolded himself for nothing. The teeth are sharp and sharp. The 8th layer of gas refining is so mad, and I don't know who accepted you into the sect, even the basic seniors. Zhang Wei shuffled Yekong's sleeves and made him say less. She doesn't know this old man, and she has a high cultivation. She must be the kind of old man who works hard. These people are very powerful. But Yekong's temperament came up regardless. Respect for the elderly? Then you have to see if you deserve it. What about old age? Isn't there any meanness and shame in old age? The old plan, the old man, the old thief, and the first husband, these words are for you. Invented. You, the old man was speechless with a beard. At this time, Cao Junfan rushed over. This guy knew the old man, and said a few words, then the old man stared at Yekong and left. As soon as the old man left, Yekong asked, "What is the way? I think you respect him." "Well, why did you work with him?" Cao Junfan pulled Yekong and Zhang Wei to the unmanned place, and then said, "This person's name is Lin Tianwu, who was originally a senior official of the Wu Kingdom. It's an old-fashioned scholar, so it's more upright and pedantic, so don't worry about him." Zhang Wei wondered, how old was he? He didn't check Lincoln when he was a kid. Yekong is also curious. According to the logic, the children of big families will check the roots of their children from an early age. If they have the qualification to cultivate immortals, who else is going to be an official? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 358. 357 then 7. You don't know, Cao Junfan whispered. Originally Lin Tianwu had no spiritual roots, but 100 years ago, he accidentally got an elixir. He went down with a panacea and immediately changed from mortal to earth-fire dual spirit root qualification. Jijindan, Yekong once heard from Huan Quan's ancestors. He didn't expect to have them now, and he was very enthusiastic about that stuff. He always wanted to let his elder mother, Lu Qin, and Xiao Hong be able to cultivate immortals. Now that Lin Tianwu can get it, it means that there are still things in this world that can't be found by himself. Yekong Kong had confidence again. Yekong thought about Jin Dan, but Zhang Wei noticed another question, 100 years. He's been 100 years? No wonder he hasn't seen it, so what did he cultivate? How did he build the foundation period now? Don't you have a bottleneck? Cao Junfan shook his head and said, who knows, logically, there will be no bottleneck in the double-rooted rooting period, but he just can't get through. I still want to enter the big team with a bottleneck. The rule is that after 3 years of training, you can't enter the competition and you will be disqualified. The old man is definitely more than 3 years old, right? Yekong interjected. Cao Junfan smiled bitterly. Lin Tianwu was the 8th floor of the foundation 10 years ago, and 10 years later it was the 9th floor of the foundation. Who knows when he was promoted? My grandfather also questioned it, but he said he had risen within 3 years. Floor. How is it possible that he is lying? He has risen a layer in 10 years, and insists on entering the battlefield. What kind of upright and pedantic person is this mother Lin Tianwu? The pedantic is a fact, and honesty can hardly bear it. This is selfishness, there is no shameful hypocrite. Yekong scolded indignantly. He had met a true man of integrity, and taught him Zhang Wuid of Kangnan. If it was Zhang Wuid, he would never know that he would be difficult to break through, and he lied to occupy the quota of other disciples. This is the true gentleman. Compared with Zhang Wuid, Lin Tianwu is not even fart. In fact, Cao Guang also despised Lin Tianwu's behavior, but he couldn't help it. After all, what you are saying is that the 3-year cultivation has not improved, and the others have been in retreat for 10 years. Do you know when he will be promoted? More importantly, Cao Guang's father had a good relationship with Lin Tianwu before sitting. As a junior, Cao Guang had to understand that Lin Tianwu wanted to break through the foundation period. If he didn't enter the period of Dandan again, Xiao Yuan would soon be here. Everyone despised the old man, and Cao Junfan retorted, "You better not mess with Lin Tianwu, the old man's cultivation is far better than you, and his magical skills are very powerful." I heard that during the 10-year retreat, what else was produced? Bull X's charm is infinitely powerful. Cao Junfan and Ye have been mixing for a long time. I'm full, I don't care if he doesn't mess with me. Ye Kong snorted and walked back to the square. The ring on the square has changed, and fewer, because there are fewer players in the promotion knockout, so there are only 5 rings, and the area of the ring has become larger, presumably considering that the battle will be more intense. But the above considerations are wrong. The competition to advance to the knockout round was not fierce and not fierce at all. On the first day of the game, a large number of active considals appeared. It is reasonable to think about it, everyone's main purpose is to enter the big team. Now that the goal has been achieved, what are you doing? In the event of another serious injury in the fight, which prevents you from entering the large array of cultivation, you will lose more than you pay. So as long as you look at the field, the other side is higher than yourself, and he immediately smashes his hand. Brother is mighty, my brother is not as good as myself, I hope that brother will go to the next level. I was also very polite over there, and said, "Thank you for your acceptance." My brother thanked him. Ye Kong encountered the initiative to admit defeat in the first game. He also said, "The green hills are always there, the green water is long, the brothers of the younger brothers have memorized. Let us go to the Surabaya City Tavern for a drink, and we won't be drunk." Cao Muking listened and shook her head. Which is the monk's speech? This clearly shows that King Shan is the king. Cao Muking was very depressed. I wanted to make things difficult for this blackbird, but I didn't expect that the blackbird won very easily. So far in 5 games, 3 games have been won. Is it really good for others? Lihiza. Tomorrow is the real person in the middle of the battle to build the base, and see how you win again. If you lose, you will show me a little medicine for a lifetime. Cao Mu hummed coldly after Ye Kong's victory. Ye Kong, who wanted to step down, asked, "What if I win?" "If you win." Cao Muking blurted out and wanted to let you handle it, but suddenly thought of the last time, immediately understood that the boy dug a pit for himself to drill. This kid was so bad that he was almost fooled again. Cao Muking temporarily changed his stance and said, "If you win, you will be better at masters. My ancestors don't care about you like this monk." Ye Kong was daring and took a step closer. He looked boldly at the pair of tall and pretty bulges in front of Cao Muking, and chuckled, "I thought the ancestor was gambling with the bad guys again." "Go." Cao Muking's voice was not loud, but her face could not help but a little redness from the stage. Someone was still thinking, "If one day I could hold the pair of fleshy white meat need in your hands." The ancestor of Cao Muking is older than Sister Wu Yi, isn't it? Someone asked suddenly. Yeah, a black man knew something was wrong, and quickly laughed. "Zixuan, what are you asking, what is big or small?" Cucumber Crush is also a bold girl. Since staying with Hei Long for a long time, she has not spoken through her brain. She has long thrown Master S warning out of the clouds. "Well, don't think I don't know what you think, I will tell Sister Wu Yi to go back." Cucumber Mei Yan threatened with a wrinkled expression. "Why don't you tell me, Wu Yi, about rubbing your farts?" Ye Kong laughed and stuck it in her ear. "In fact, you are not young." Huang Zixuan heard the joy in her heart, and was very shy, especially when Ye Kong was talking. Her lips were rubbed against her beaded earlobe, and the man's heat hit her neck, the little cucumber girl only felt flustered and followed fawn-like. Ignore you, Huang Zixuan stepped on a hooligan and ran away with a red face. This scene cannot be seen far away, an old man sighed, the whirlwind, the whirlwind. The old man was Lin Tianwu, who was arguing with Yekong in the early morning. He asked about it today. This son has been in the limelight recently, and the senior officials in Zongnei have paid attention to it. Otherwise, the old man Lin Tianwu will take a lesson. When I have a chance, I must learn from you, Lin Tianwu thought to himself. Huang Zixuan ignored a black man, in fact, that is, he took a few steps and stood at the intersection waiting. The battle is going on, the road is sparse, and there are all kinds of large trees that the earth does not have, all kinds of low-level spiritual birds and immortals leisurely love, and the far end of the road is covered with spiritual fog shrouded in pavilions. The scenery is fascinating and fascinating. Even the vulgar hooligans are a little fascinated. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 359. Meeting on the narrow road. Zixuan, where is it in the distance? Yekong asked casually. That's the library building in the inner hall, where all kinds of classics, exercises, and recipes are kept. Huang Zixuan replied casually, alone with brother Heza. She was always very happy, and she had panic. A feeling of. Yekong listened, frowning, and asked, I have been in Yunfuzong for a few months. Why do you find that everyone doesn't care much about the charms, and just practice? Huang Zixuan laughed, Brother Heza, you don't know about it? Many years ago, Yunfuzong's disciples were obsessed with the charms. As a result, they had restrained a lot, but their disciplinary practices were generally weak. Became a second-rate section, so the ancestor Cao Kishan gave a reprimand and practiced the amulet first. He would not be allowed to go to the library to watch the higher-level charm system. Oh, that's it. Yekong nodded and moved on. Yekong was purely because the scenery came over, but Huang Zixuan was because he was accompanying him. Cucumber Mime was willing to accompany him for a day. He would never come to the scene. Where are we going? Hey, why didn't you see Wu and Tianming them today? Yekong suddenly asked again. Huang Zixuan laughed. They have all gone to Surabaya city. They bought some necessary items and prepared for the training. Sister Wu Yi also followed. Oh, they are thoughtful. Yekong smiled. But at this moment, he suddenly saw a man and a woman coming on the opposite road. The male old man is not young, it is Yunfuzong's ancestor Cao Guang, and the figure is embossing and touching. The woman-like woman turned out to be the oldest ancestor of Lingyao Mountain. Yekong Kong was startled, if he avoided his doubts, if he walked over in a big way, Cao Guang might stop himself and say a few words. The ancestor of Hung Ham is also a monk in the infant's infanthood. It is a high-level monk, not to mention that Yirongdan that he takes is from the mountain of elixir, so if he is in close contact, it is likely that the ancestor of Hung Ham will find something. Yekong couldn't think much about it. A package of Huang Zixuan's soft waistband led her directly into the green trees near the road. The green tree leaves are full of one person, growing and flourishing. A few green leaves block the two, covering the whole body of the two. Without the sun, the trees were slightly dim and shady. Huang Zixuan leaned on a crooked neck short tree, her white face was very striking in the dim, and a pair of shiny star eyes flashed with doubt. Hey brother, you. Huang Zixuan didn't export the words, a pair of pink lips with soft and moist lips, was sucked by a wolf. Huang Zixuan's beautiful eyes stared like bronze bells, but soon, a gentle flash appeared in her eyes, and then slowly closed her big eyes with thick and long eyelashes, enjoying the first mouth-to-mouth fun. Everyone said that the men and women of the Wu Kingdom were magnanimous. It seems to be telling the truth. Even the nuns in the gate have male nuns who are close to the field, which makes people breathtaking. The ancestor of the red-haired grandfather said that he was ecstatic and said Cao Guang's ancestor flushed. It's all young people. It's inevitable. As long as we don't overdo it, our ancestors are not good at intervening. Besides, the nuns and nuns are also conducive to cultivation and promotion, Cao Guangzi explained. Cao Guang's ancestors said, "Put God's consciousness into the trees to take a look. In my heart, this boy is really energetic, isn't it?" It doesn't mean that he repaired with the woman named Zhang Wei. How did he hook up another female apprentice? Cao Muse. Ye Kong clearly heard the conversation between Cao Guang and the ancestor of Hung Ham outside. Cao Guangdao friends, I came here 3 times. One is to congratulate Kazong Nebi, and the other is to remind Kazong. It is reported that Kangnan fanatic Ye Kong is likely to sneak into the Wu kingdom. Kazong must pay attention, Hung Ham ancestor said. Oh, there is no need to worry about the Taoist friends of Hung Ham. I checked the new disciples in this store a few days ago and found that there is no disciple with a spiritual root. Hung Ham said again, this is all right, that stubborn Ye Kong will be disturbed wherever he goes. He is scheming, arrogant and hateful, and he will most seduce female disciples. Ye Kong Gli yelled, your ancestors were stubborn, what deep hatred did I have with you? It's so defamatory for me. Is it true that I, often seduce female disciples? Cao Guang laughed, and said, Red ancestor, you know this arrogant stubborn. The old ancestor of Hanjian sighed and said, Zongmen is unfortunate. Our most promising female disciple in Linjiao Mountain was attracted by him, seduced, and still upset. Ye Kong heard that Hung Ham talked about Lianrulan, so he listened carefully, but Hung Ham didn't want to say more, but the old man Cao Guang asked very humanly, oh, I heard that female disciple is okay. Hung Ho waved her hand, let her think behind closed doors for 5 years, then depending on the situation, if not, continue to think. Ye Kong Gli was loose, and the punishment to his disciples was the lightest, to think behind closed doors. There is no distraction in mind, and cultivation with one heart can actually improve the cultivation, and there is no need to worry about loneliness. It is normal for a monk to sit for 3 years and 5 years. Then, Ye Kong heard the ancestors of Hongyu mention the last one. Our ancestor Cao Guang, we heard that there was a catastrophe within a few years in the Kangnan continent, and Kazong then laid out the 9 revolutionary spirit. Ye Kong wanted to hear a few more words, but because of his absent-mindedness, Huang Zixuan's consciousness was a little sober. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 360. 3 or 5 debates. Brother Heza, that's enough, no more. Huang Zixuan tried to stand up while pushing Wolfpaw. This time Ye was so excited that he didn't even hear Cao Guang's words clearly. He heard only a few words, space cracks, corpse Yanzong, not necessarily a catastrophe, maybe an opportunity. Ye Kong didn't hear clearly, and he didn't care too much. After all, these things should be worrying and worrying. It had nothing to do with him, he couldn't control it. At this moment Zhang Wei and Zhang Wulin have gone back. Zhang Wei didn't tell Ye Kong to sneak to Surabaya city because she went to Sister Baiji who knew that Li Yao went with this girl, and took a few inner shows with Baiji and the 2 women were embarrassed on the way back and whispered. Sister Wu Yi, is that really unsuitable for wearing obscene pants? Li Yao asked in a low voice. Of course, Xian has been wearing it for a few days. If it wasn't for her, I would be embarrassed to wear it, Zhang Wei also whispered. But it's too small, I don't know which side is facing forward or which is facing backward. Li Ruo was thinking of the trousers, his face was red. Sister Baiji said, wide side forward, 1 finger wide fart block share. Zhang Wei also said that his face was flushed. If Ye knows that they are so divided, they will vomit blood and fall. Li Yao turned his head and glanced at the men, and found that they were not paying attention, So he giggled, "What fart does one finger wide stop? Stocks? It's almost the same." Zhang Wei, who urged Fei Jian, heard it, but didn't catch it, and almost fell off Fei Jian. "Guy, you are strong. Strong man." Li Ruo chuckled and said, "Where is your family, Li Haiqiang, and at home, consider the objects used by these women." Zhang Wei shouted, "Don't wear it if you have a species." Heza said, "This is to protect the physical and mental health of female comrades and benefit all humanity." Che, help him talk before he even comes through the door. What else is good for all mankind? I think it is full of heart. Two female practitioners talked while walking, while several male practitioners talked while walking. Tianming, do you see Brother Hezi have any hope of winning? Ye Xian asked. If it's okay to deal with ordinary Chiki disciples, do you know that the news of the big group is now spreading out, and those disciples who have been in retreat for many years have come out, and they want to use the great power of the big group. Let us rush into the Danji period. Lan Ming sighed and said, Brother Heza will be in the top 10 this time, I see. After speaking, he sighed and shook his head. It didn't look promising. However, Ye Xian had an almost superstitious admiration for Brother Li Heza, and he retorted, did you not find out? Brother Heza has not really shot yet. Who knows Brother Heza's true strength? The strength of those real people who have not been in the base for many years cannot be underestimated, Blue Sky Ming said, especially Xiaowei, the difference is too great, a whole difference of a realm, the 8 layers of gas refining and the 8 layers of building base. There are even 9 floors of the building base. How do you look at it? You are not your opponent. Ye Xian listened and sighed. Indeed, the difference between the 8th layer of gas refining and the 8th layer of building base is too great. In addition, many of the real people who built the foundation for many years have been famous for a long time, and their instruments are even more powerful. Among them, there are some top quality or best quality instruments. It is really difficult to defeat them. When Ye Xian looked up, he suddenly noticed that Zhang Wulin had been smiling, and asked, Brother Wulin, don't hold your back. What's your opinion? Lan Tianming also noticed this, and looked back at Zhang Wulin with anticipation. Well, since you asked, then I will talk about my views. Zhang Wulin cleared his throat and said, first of all, talk about the other side. Those who have been in the foundation for many years have really strong strength, but there are a lot of powerful instruments, and even there will be fierce fairy birds and pets. But Zhang Wulin said in a turn, but their purpose is to enter the large array, and now their purpose has been achieved, not necessarily fight hard for the top 3 rewards. Yes, yes, Ye Xian repeatedly agreed. Think of the top 3 rewards, but they are like Dongfu magic instruments. Those who built the base already have Dongfu and high-end magic instruments. There is really no need to work hard for this. More important is the second. Zhang Wulin continued, you and Brother Li Hezi haven't gotten to know him since he and you haven't known him. If there is still a miracle in this world, in that case, he must be the one who created the miracle. So I firmly believe that he will definitely enter the top 10. I knew Brother Heza would do wonders. Ye Xian clenched his fists excitedly. Even Blue Sky Ming, who has not been optimistic about it, nodded, I hope Brother Kuriko can really do a miracle, so that we can enter the cultivation circle together. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 361. 3 or 6 promotion to 1. But just then, an old voice came from his ear. Boy! We are all far away, and your play should be over. Almost, the old man looks red-faced and red-headed. Be careful, Cao Muse's ancestors are desperate for you. This kid played too much. Cao Guang's ancestors couldn't help but remind him, even fearing that they would continue. Cao Guang's ancestors also swept the two with the powerful consciousness of Yuanying. After being swept away by the powerful consciousness of the Yuan infant period, Huang Zixuan, who was full of heat, suddenly seemed to be poured through a basin of cold water, and was horrified to stand up. When he saw that his clothes had been almost completely removed, Huang Zixuan couldn't help but panic and became white. At one glance, a hooligan doing bad things, dragging his shirt, stood far away and started to organize, and fled away after finishing. While standing still, Yekong noticed Cao Guang's ancestors after a short absence. How did he know that I was hiding from the ancestors of Hung Ham? Did he find out? Yekong thought of Cao Guang's face as if I know everything. After today's game, Huang Zixuan was obviously a little scared. She was afraid of any super-friendly contacts with brother Heze, and she would also disturb the good things of sister Wu Yi. Although she also felt that she liked brother Heze, but the unexplained troubles let she deliberately avoided Yekong. Yekong was also very embarrassed. After all, he and Cucumber Crush hadn't reached that point. How could he just straighten her up like that? Yekong wanted to find a chance to talk to Huang Zixuan, but he couldn't find the opportunity, and Huang Zixuan deliberately avoided him, so the matter was dragged on like this. On the 9th day of Yabe, Yekong's second game began. I've heard that Ali Heze appeared in the outer hall, and today I can see it. It really looks good. A middle-aged monk in the middle of the construction period, stroking his 5 black beard, smiled lightly. Uncle passed the prize. Yekong also hurriedly saluted. As a disciple during the refining period, all the real people in the school were his uncles. No courtesy. The middle-aged Zuji real person raised his hand and said, "The real person Lilian. You can rest assured that you are not attacking immediately when you try it. The real person also wants to see your true strength. Also yes, you don't have to worry about the real person's heavy hands, all is rest assured." The real person named Lilian, who is based in Zuji, is also kind, obviously showing a sense of care and modesty. Of course, Yekong quickly thanked him, "Thank you, Uncle Li," and asked Uncle Li to show mercy. Lilian smiled and said, "Of course, you don't have any illusions, even if you have to enter the top 10 to enter the big team, the real person will not let you. After all, you are defeated by a disciple who has 8 layers of gas. It's very shameful." After listening to Lilian's statement, Cao Muking frowning finally showed a smile. "Hey, Li Heze, aren't you crazy? See if you can defeat the middle monks of Chiki." I did not expect that Li Heze did not frighten the field in the slightest, but smiled slightly, sweeping the audiences, and said, "Thank Uncle Li for his love, but even if Uncle Li puts water in his hands, let me win, Li, nor can it be easily accepted. With the help of others, you can never get real victory. And you can't feel the quick gain of victory." Immediately after Yekong's words were spoken, many disciples in the audience immediately rang applause. This is the Li Heze they want to see, the first person in the hall who persists and never loses. "You did not disappoint me," Lilian patted the storage bag and said, "Be careful." Lilian used 2 slender stick-shaped instruments. The stick body was as white as jade, but opaque, and it felt like it was made of ivory. After Lilian released the 2 short sticks, he smiled and smiled. The real sea urchin canine chopsticks are the 2 most powerful crickets on the jaw of the giant canine sea urchin canine that is unique to Kangnan Inland Sea. Made by Tooth at first, the real person just built the foundation and went out to practice. When I met this giant Fang sea urchin Fangs, I was really not an opponent. When I was about to give up, suddenly a pair of celestial bodies came out of the sea, men and women. Lilian said as he settled down his tactics. The 5 beards and black beards fluttered, but they were somewhat graceful. The audience below also listened with interest, as if this was not a game. The monks and men are very strange. They obviously have extraordinary strength, but they don't see the practice. It makes people feel mortal. The most outrageous thing is that the man is like a woman, covering his face with a veil. The audience also marveled, and they even listened. It was a movement in Yekong Kong. Could this man and woman be a shadow clan? It seems to look back to Lilian to find out what position in the Kangnan Inland Sea. These two predecessors shot and killed the giant canine sea urchin canine easily. I left without paying attention to it, and I also had the opportunity to successfully obtain the body material of this giant canine sea urchin canine. Yekong arched another hand and praised, if ordinary people do this, they must brag about killing a giant fang and sea urchin fangs all by themselves, while Uncle Li likes to admit that they were killed by others and take advantage of himself. Li admired. Lilian said with a smile, I did take advantage of by, and there is nothing to brag about. Unfortunately, it is such a good material that I finally made this pair of Chinese artifacts. The audience also sighed. Although the giant fangs, sea urchins, and fangs have never been seen before, the sea beasts who want to come at least are Chinese products. The most important material is only a pair of Chinese products, which really makes people sad. To the reader. Last month's bricks number 6, thank you friends for supporting. On the first day of the new moon, I will ask for a brick thank you very much, it will erupt tomorrow.